I've been very vocal about how I feel about Donovan Mitchell. I've been very vocal about where I put Donovan Mitchell in this NBA greatness class. For people that don't know, or for new listeners, thank you for being here first and foremost. I think Donovan Mitchell is a great player. I think Donovan Mitchell is one of the best players, especially when we talk about scoring the ball in the NBA. What he's able to do at his height, at his size, and the heights that he's able to take the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Utah Jazz when he was on the team is nothing short of great. Especially when we saw at his height in the bubble and the scoring outputs that we saw, it wouldn't be smart to think that Donovan Mitchell is anything less than great. But in the same breath, I've always said that there's a difference between being great and being a star and being a superstar. That conversation, what is a superstar, who is a superstar, that conversation has been at the front of the table majority of this playoffs, whether we talk about Donovan Mitchell, whether we talk about Jalen Brunson, whether we talk about someone like Jason Tatum, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards. The superstar conversation has been rampant all playoffs, to say the least. Let's say that. And I've been very vocal over the years that we've seen the greatness from Donovan Mitchell and saying he is a star. Don't get it twisted. If Donovan Mitchell is your best player, you can make it to the playoffs. He can take your team to the playoffs. He can take your team to the second round. But the difference between a star and a superstar is when you have a superstar, in my opinion, there's a feeling of, oh, I have one of the best players in the NBA, and this player can take us to a championship. That's why I said there's not many superstars in the league. And honestly, if you look at the history of the league, there hasn't been many superstars in the history. Not saying that a superstar has to take you to a championship, but you feel, for instance, Charles Barkley was a superstar. Never won a championship. He went to one, obviously, but he was a superstar. John Stockton was a superstar. They never won a championship, but they were good enough. John Stockton, along with homie, not going to say his name, was good enough to get the Jazz, to get Phoenix to a championship. Donovan Mitchell has never been a superstar, in my opinion. He's been great. He's been a good player. He's one of the best scoring guards in the league. But he's not a superstar. And I think the issue comes in as he has been viewed that in Cleveland, which goes back to my point in saying I always think it's funny and I think it's interesting, all the stories that come out after you lose a series, especially after you lose a series, whether you expected to win or not. After you lose a series before the destination you think your team is supposed to be. All this week and all last week, well, since the Boston Celtics beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in 4 in the second round, in 5, they beat them 4-1. It's just been story after story after story. Rumor after rumor after rumor coming out of this Cleveland Cavaliers organization, whether it's with Donovan Mitchell and him not being happy with where they are as a team, or not being happy with the development or the lack of development from some of his key teammates like Darius Garland, like Evan Mobley. or the team not being happy with Jared Allen, who didn't play any of the series due to rib injury. Or how JB Bickerstaff's job is quote unquote in jeopardy because this team couldn't beat the number one team in the East in the second round. Or the fact that the team is upset with Donovan Mitchell because Donovan Mitchell didn't play the end of the series. He didn't play the last, 2 games due to injury. The thing about shaky foundations and the thing about when your team does not have solid foundations, when your team doesn't have a leader, when your team isn't really connected the way that a championship caliber team should be connected, you get stories like this. Which is why I think, if you want to PS it, which is why I think that the Suns have a lot of issues to address. Because not only right after did you fire a head coach, but all the stories that came out. And when you look at their future, it looks mighty bleak from... I'm not gonna go on a tangent about the Suns. I talked about it ad nauseum last episode. But with all these stories, usually comes change. And it's been speculated all last season and this season that there has been a growing frustration with Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, does this mean Donovan Mitchell is going to go? No. But I do think that it has been proven that there is a low ceiling on the backcourt of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. This is the second straight playoffs that one player has gone off and the other player has struggled mightily. And the only good games that we saw from Darius Garland was the games where Donovan Mitchell didn't play. We're going to talk about Dallas series later, but what the Cleveland Cavaliers thought they were going to get out of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, which on paper they should have gotten, is the same thing that Dallas is getting from Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Now, yes, obviously Kyrie and Luka are in a different class than Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, but the Cavalier organization, the Cavaliers fans thought that they were going to get that. I mean, Donovan Mitchell was putting up 50-point games in the bubble. He has a 70-point game for this franchise. I think once you start hearing stories like this, especially so soon after the season ended, there's going to be change. And I think there's going to be major change. I don't know if Jared Allen is going to be here next year. I don't know, or here, let me say, is going to be on the Cleveland Cavaliers next year. I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is going to be on the team. I don't know if Darius Garland is going to be on the team. But I do think that there is going to be change. And I will also finish this before moving on by saying this. This is what happens when you put superstar expectations on a non-superstar player. Again, don't get me wrong. Donovan Mitchell is a great player, but he's not a superstar. And I think the second round is the heights that Donovan Mitchell could have taken you. Again, I don't know who the hell thought that the Cleveland Cavaliers were going to beat the Boston Celtics this year, but for the people that are disappointed, newsflash, it was never going to happen, brother or sister. Yeah, man, it's... Cleveland is in a weird spot. Their team is structured and constructed like a team that is built to go far in playoffs. Whether that, I mean, they have two bigs. Even though I am shocked that Jarrett Allen is like 6'9". He's listed as 6'9". I thought for sure that he was 7 feet tall. I was hella wrong. But yeah, man. I think if Donovan Mitchell is your second option, meaning he is the second best player, he is a player that isn't really looked at as the star of the team. I think you know what it is? Someone asked me this the other day, and this is a perfect example. Scoring wise, obviously he's much better, but I look at Donovan Mitchell the same way I look at Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon was the man in Orlando. Aaron Gordon was great. He was a scoring, like he could score with the best of them. He was incredible. Obviously, a lot of people didn't give him credit for that because there wasn't much winning going along with what Aaron Gordon did. But again, when you look at the team that Aaron Gordon was on, Victor Oladipo was always hurt. It just wasn't. It wasn't built for success. What Aaron Gordon had going on in Orlando, but it was no question that he was the man in Orlando. But there also was no question that when Aaron Gordon is your best player, there is an obvious ceiling that is not championship. You go to Denver, not only is he not the second option, he's the third option, but he even said that he had to adapt. I'm not saying that he's the reason why Denver obviously won a championship last year, but what I am saying is they would not win a championship if it wasn't for him. And if he was their best player and not a Nikola Jokic, then Denver would not be a championship caliber team. I look at Donovan Mitchell the same way. If you put I'll say it like this. If Donovan Mitchell was your second option, if your best player was if your best player was, let's say, Joel Embiid, and that's no offense to Tyrese Maxey, but if your best player was Joel Embiid, I think that the ceiling would be much higher for the 76ers if Donovan Mitchell was your second option. Which I think that if Donovan Mitchell goes to a place like the Heat, their ceiling would be much higher because he's not the first option. The first option, obviously, is Jimmy Butler. He is a more hybrid version of Aaron Gordon, in my opinion. Aaron Gordon had an incredible career in Orlando, being the solo option. But we saw year after year after year that him being who he was in Orlando, being the number one option, wasn't getting Orlando nowhere close to a championship. Donovan Mitchell ain't been close to one. You put Aaron Gordon as the second, third option for the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets, a lot of people, I don't know how the game is going to go, but a lot of people have Denver going back to back. So Donovan Mitchell is not that. He's not a number one option, in my opinion, in your team as a championship team. And where the issue comes in is the Cleveland Cavaliers viewed him and paid him like he is that. And he also has kind of proven that he doesn't work. He doesn't work the best alongs. The thing, like I said before, the shocking thing to me, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but it's shocking, let's say, that the pairing of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving has been so successful. And I'll elaborate later on, but it's not that shocking that two ball dominant players in Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland have not succeeded. I'll just say that. So, I don't. I think you should expect a lot of change to come in Cleveland, because this is yet another year where the expectations that they put on themselves have not been reached. Because you have a player as your best player, and while you may look at him as a championship caliber player, history has shown that he is not. Even though he is great, he is not that. Oh man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.